Three bone-chilling true hidden camera horror stories that haunt you forever in a quiet suburban neighborhood. A chilling darkness settled under the guise of everyday normalcy. The kind of darkness that creeps in when you least expect it. Hidden cameras, installed to catch ordinary moments, instead captured scenes that would make your skin crawl. Three stories twist in and out of reality, each more harrowing than the last, and their truths could send shivers down any spine. First, there's the tale of a young couple who thought they were safe. Late one night, after a long shift at work, they sunk into the embrace of their couch, blissfully unaware they were being watched. The camera caught everything: a shadowy figure lurking just beyond their window, its face obscured but intent. They laughed, shared secrets, but the figure never left. As the couple retreated to bed, a slow, throaty creaking echoed through the darkness, and the figure slipped silently into the house. Next, we find ourselves in a deserted rental house, where the new tenant discovers something much more sinister than peeling wallpaper. It began with odd noises, whispers on the edge of hearing, shadows darting just out of sight. One frantic night, the camera recorded a haunting image, a clear outline of a woman, her face twisted in a silent scream, rising from the depths of the basement. The tenant gasped and stumbled back, but the footage didn't lie. The woman had never lived in this house. Her eyes glowed like smoldering coals, and her presence brought something dreadful that chilled even the warmest heart. And lastly, there was the chilling discovery made by a father who innocently installed a camera to keep an eye on his children. What began as harmless turned into a nightmare when he reviewed the footage one afternoon. It showed his young daughter playing alone in her room, giggling with an imaginary friend. But then came the whispering, soft yet menacing, calling her name. The father's heart raced as the camera caught a glimpse of a dark figure just behind the girl, its features warped and malevolent. He could barely breathe as the reality crashed in. Who or what was that? And what did it want from his daughter? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a burning urgency, the father's mind reeled. How long had this presence been watching? The shadows danced ominously across the walls as he flicked through the footage, praying it was just a figment of his imagination. But as the next scene unfolded, the twisted face rose again, closer this time, its hollow eyes locked on the sleeping child. He felt sick as dread washed over him. His protective instincts screamed for action, but where could he even begin? He had to unravel this chilling mystery before it was too late. What was the truth lurking behind those hidden cameras? What did these dark entities truly seek? The answers seemed just out of reach, but time was running out. His hands shook as he paused the footage, zeroing in on the dark figure. Each frame revealed more detail. Its shadowy outline was contorted and unnatural, an impossible silhouette that shouldn't exist. It seeped into his mind, gnawing at his sanity. What was lurking there? What kind of ghostly fiend could trespass into the safety of home? Questions tore through him like jagged claws. He had to know more. With every beat of his heart, fear coiled tighter around him. He grabbed his phone, trembling fingers dialing a number, desperation flooding his veins. Hello? Officer Thompson? I need your help. It's about my daughter. The words tumbled out like a frantic plea, his voice barely above a whisper. Each passing second felt like an eternity. Would they take him seriously? Could they save his child from whatever darkness had invaded their sunny home? Calm down, sir. I'm here to help, Officer Thompson replied, a calm voice cutting through the haze of panic. Just tell me what is happening. Through choked breaths, the father recounted the footage, detailing the figure that loomed behind his daughter, its malevolent energy seeping into the very essence of their family life. As he spoke, he could almost feel the shadows encroaching around him, the chill deepening. Keep the doors locked. We'll send someone right away, Officer Thompson assured him. Stay put and keep an eye on her. He hung up, a mixture of hope and dread swirling inside him. The thoughts of that figure, oozing in the corners of his vision, haunted his mind. Where had it come from? Had it been there all along, patiently biding its time? He looked at the glowing screen, the footage of his daughter's innocent laughter cutting sharply against the terrifying backdrop. As shadows began to fall in the house. Unsettling noises started creeping in whispers that swirled softly around his ears. Each creak of the floorboards thrummed with tension. Every flicker of a light made his heart race. He felt like a prisoner in his home, once filled with warmth, now riddled with paranoia. Then came the sound. It wasn't just a whisper anymore. It was a voice, a sinister, raspy call that seemed to wrap around him. "Daddy, where are you?" The voice echoed from the hallway, distinctly like his daughter's. Panic gripped him tightly as he peered around the corner, hoping to catch a fleeting glimpse of her. The hallway was empty, but then he noticed something out of place. The door to the basement, slightly ajar, seemed to breathe shadows. A cold draft slithered by, and a deep sense of dread rooted him where he stood, fighting the urge to call out. "Emily!" he shouted, the sound ricocheting against the walls. There was silence, then a giggle bubbling up from below, a sound he recognized too well. He moved toward the basement door, compelled yet terrified, drawn by the sound of his little girl's delight in a place where it didn't belong. Could she have gone down there? Suddenly, the phone buzzed violently in his pocket. Officer Thompson's name illuminated the screen, but he hesitated, frozen in place, eyes trained on the basement. That giggle morphed into a shrill laughter, rising sharply. Shadows began to twist, weaving and curling around the edges of the door. Now he had a choice to make: grab the phone and call for help, or follow that laugh into the heart of darkness. Heart racing, he fought against the pull of dread, each muscle tense as he faced the decision head-on. What care awaited him in that basement? Did the answer to the nightmare lie within? But then a sudden movement in the corner of his eye snapped him back to reality. The dark figure loomed at the top of the staircase, its hollow eyes boring into him. It hissed, raising a skeletal finger. Then, just like that, the laughter stopped. Was it too late? Would he dare descend into the abyss? The air grew heavy, and every instinct screamed to run. Yet the pull to save his daughter was overpowering, chaining him to the spot. Time was running out. The moment had come. He felt every nerve in his body screaming for him to turn away. Yet the haunting silence that enveloped the house pushed him closer to the basement door. With a shaky breath, he made his choice. He couldn't leave Emily down there, not with whatever that thing was lurking in the shadows. "Emily," he called again, his voice shaking but resolute. "I'm coming." The words echoed back to him, anxiously bouncing off the walls. The darkness of the basement seemed to swallow the light from the hallway, a void that pulsed with a malevolent energy. He gripped the railing, feeling its cold metal chafe against his palm. The figure at the top of the stairs lingered in his peripheral vision, a twisted reminder of the grave danger that accompanied him. Barely breathing, he descended the stairs, each step amplifying the squelch of his sweat-soaked palms. The air thickened with an unnameable dread as he reached the bottom. The darkness wrapped around him like a shroud, and he fumbled for the light switch, praying for illumination. Just as his fingers grazed the switch, the whispers surged back, rising in volume until a cacophony filled his ears. "Daddy, come play." They were still there, taunting him, weaving through the very fabric of his thoughts, drawing him deeper into the gloom. He stumbled back, the light flickering on at the last moment. The room burst into view, shelves loaded with old toys, bits of dust swirling in the air. But amidst the benign clutter, something felt profoundly wrong. His heart raced as he caught the unmistakable silhouette, a small figure perched at the far corner, head bowed. "Emily?" he croaked, his voice thick with fear, but the reply was only a ghostly echo of his own. "Daddy, let us play." The voice was not his daughter's anymore. It was high-pitched and sinister, danced with malice. The figure remained still, a ragged child dressed in tattered clothes, its features smeared in a grotesque grin that twisted unnaturally. He turned quickly, racing back toward the stairs, but the figure unfurled, extending its bony hand, brushing the air like it was tethered to something unfathomable. Stay play forever. Trapped between terror and instinct, he lunged for the door, fumbling with the knob as panic surged through him. The whispers crescendoed, echoing off the walls, each syllable wrapped in a desperate urgency. He could almost feel the creature's breath on the back of his neck. With a frantic yank, the door swung open, revealing Light's sweet, familiar light spilling invitingly from the hallway. He lunged through, heart pounding, not daring to look back as he slammed the door, sealing the darkness away. His chest heaved, each breath rough and jagged. He glanced back at the closed door, the weight of the moment settling heavily upon his shoulders. Silence engulfed him as a chilling realization struck. Where was Emily? Emily! He shouted, his voice breaking. But the house was still now, deafeningly quiet. The weight of the darkness, the dread that had ebbed and flowed within the basement, hung in the air. Each shadow in the hallway seemed to stretch toward him, whispering tales of a lurking menace. He reached for his phone, dialing Officer Thompson again, but no answer came. Panic surged into his throat, stealing his breath. Something cold brushed against his arm, a fleeting chill that felt far too intimate. He spun around, heart in his throat. There, just beyond the living room, the figure stood at the edge of the hallway, its empty eyes locked onto his. It spoke again, a sickening lilt to its words. "Daddy, where are you?" In that moment of heart-stopping fear, he realized it wasn't he, just in the basement, it was already inside his home. What had he awoken? What had he brought into his life? And as he desperately struggled to find Emily, the door to the basement creaked open behind him. The shadows beckoned, the laughter returned, this time a chorus of mocking, sinister sounds that clawed at his sanity. He took a step back, but the figure advanced. What was he willing to sacrifice to save his daughter? Would courage come when he most needed it? Time was slipping away. The moment was slipping between his fingers like sand. The laughter echoed in the hallway, rising like a tide, and he felt his heart skip a beat. It was a sound that twisted his insides, mixing innocence with malice. "Emily!" He screamed again, desperation painting every word. He spun toward the door, an instinctual urge clawing at him to escape, but dread gripped his throat. The shadow loomed larger, its form stretching unnaturally, creeping toward him. He cursed his weakness, his hesitation, but the urge to run clashed violently with the instinct to protect. "No!" he shouted, grounding himself. "Where is she?" The doll-like figure stared back, its head tilting slightly, a grotesque imitation of curiosity. "She's safe if you let me play." The creature's voice was honeyed, sickening. It took another step closer, its fingers twitching like branches in an unseen wind that he felt the walls closing in. The air pulsed heavily with dread, pressing on his chest. Every bit of him screamed to retreat, to run. This wasn't he, Emily, it couldn't he be. A lump formed in his throat, overwhelming him with the realization that whatever this thing was, it knew him, and it knew his daughter. "Get away from me," he hissed, retreating further into the light of the hallway. The figure stopped, its grin widening in a way that felt more predatory than playful. The sinister laughter followed him, wrapping around his legs like icy chains. Just then, a soft whimper broke through the tension, slicing the air with a bitter edge of hope. "Daddy!" It was Emily's voice, fragile yet familiar, coming from the other end of the house. His heart surged with sudden determination. "Emily!" He spun around and sprinted down the hallway, each footfall echoing with urgency. The figure behind him screeched, a high-pitched wail that rattled the very foundations of the house. He realized he might not have time to waste questioning what was real. All that mattered was reaching her. "Emily, where are you?" he shouted, barreling through rooms, eyes darting from shadow to shadow. He'd never thought the familiar terrain of his home could feel so alien, so full of lurking dangers. The remnants of toys lay scattered everywhere, whispering memories that pierced his heart. "Daddy, help me!" The sound led him into the living room. A sanctuary turned sinister. Desperation clawed at him as he moved towards the source, a sliver of light seeping from the closet. He yanked it open, heart pounding like a drum against his ribs, praying to find Emily. But the closet was empty, save for a single, dusty teddy bear at the bottom. Panic erupted inside him. The house was playing tricks again. His thoughts reeled. Was Emily actually safe, or had he lost her to the shadows? Suddenly, a gust of cold air swirled around him, freezing his breath. He stumbled back, eyes wide, and caught a glimpse of movement behind him. The figure emerged from the shadows, its smile impossibly large, eyes gleaming like silver coins. "You're not ready for this game." Panic surged anew, forcing him to act. He turned on his heel, racing for the back door, the periphery of his vision catching the creature's shadow licking at his heels. The thick stench of decay filled his nose, and the laughter roared again, echoing as if the walls themselves were laughing at his fear. A horrifying realization struck him. What if escaping only led him to more madness? But what choice did he have? There was only one way to find the truth, to confront the horrors that lay ahead. He slammed through the back door and felt the night air hit him like a solid wall. The sprawling darkness outside felt like a frigid embrace. "Emily!" he yelled again, his voice breaking. Was she out there too? But as he stepped into the night, something gripped his ankle from behind. The very fabric of nightmares wrapped around him. He was going to pull away, but it wasn't just the air. It was the specter, claiming him as part of its game. What began as a step into the unknown turned into a battle against a grip far deeper than he realized. What were the stakes? What horrors lay ahead in the night, entwined with the fate of his daughter? A chilling whisper tugged at his ears. "You can't escape, not now." And in that moment, he knew the terrifying truth. He was already ensnared in the web, and time was running out. Just what kind of game had he become a part of? With fear coursing through his veins, he braced himself. The real game was just beginning. The world around him shrank as he felt the icy grip tighten. Panic flooded his senses, igniting a surge of adrenaline. "Get off me!" he shouted, thrashing against the tendrils that coiled around his ankle. It was as if the darkness itself sought to pull him back into its haunting embrace. The creature was a painting that danced in the corner of his eye, a grotesque smear of color unyielding. It laughed, a hollow echo that chilled the marrow in his bones. "You can't leave. The game is just starting, and you're the star." Every facet of his being screamed for freedom. With one desperate jerk, he broke free from the beast's grasp, stumbling forward into the oppressive night. Each shadow seemed alive, ready to lunge at him, and he did not dare look back. "Emily!" he called again, voice ragged. He plunged into the yard, the grass damp beneath his feet, the moonlight casting long, eerie shapes. There was movement ahead. Was it her? Was she waiting? Heart pounding, he sprinted toward the far edge of the property, where the trees stood sentinel like the guardians of forgotten secrets. "Daddy!" The voice was sweet, yet tainted with a hint of dread. He froze, eyes scanning the darkness, heart clenching in his chest. The only light around was the moon, and it flickered like a dying ember. Was she nearby, hidden in the shadows? "Emily!" he yelled again, desperation clawing at him. Then came her laughter again, innocent yet mixed with the unmistakable undertones of terror. "Come find me, Daddy." A chill swept over him. A game? The word echoed in his mind, churning with confusion and fear. It felt wrong. What kind of game? And who was really playing? As he edged closer to the forest line, he saw faint shapes moving among the trees, dark figures weaving in and out like strips of black smoke. Were they shadows, illusions, or something much worse? He backed away instinctively, but the night seemed to pulse around him, urging him forward. Resolute, he stepped onto the beaten path leading into the thick woods. The trees loomed, ancient giants swaying slightly as if whispering secrets of their own. The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed against his ears. Everything felt foreboding, like a bucket where hope slowly dripped away. He could feel it. Something was watching, waiting. There were eyes hidden within the dark, glinting like stars, studying his every movement. A whisper slithered through the still air. "Do you really want to find her? Stop it!" he yelled, his voice breaking. "Where's Emily?" "You'll have to play to find out." The voice cooed, dripping with disdain. Panic surged anew, igniting a primal urge to escape. He turned on his heel and fled down the path, the underbrush tearing at his clothes, branches snagging at his skin. But his legs were fueled by raw, desperate energy. He couldn't stop. He wouldn't stop until he found her. Then, as if mocking his resolve, the ground seemed to shift underfoot. The trail turned to mud, and he lost his footing, tumbling face first into the damp earth. A cold laugh echoed above him, and he could hear it now, soft, playful, and distinctly familiar. "Daddy, you'll have to catch me before I get away." The voice was unmistakable, but it lacked the innocence he cherished. His heart sank as he struggled to rise. The forest was transforming around him, twisting into something unrecognizable. It struck him. The game wasn't just about finding her. He had something to prove, his worth as a father. As he steadied himself, the realization washed over him, terrifying yet illuminating. He had to confront not just the shadows, but also the darkness within himself. Before he could take a breath, a blinding light sliced through the trees, illuminating a clearing ahead. There she was. Emily stood in the center, her form glowing. But something felt off. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He stumbled forward, heart racing, when suddenly the shadows flickered, revealing the creature behind her. "You're too late," it hissed, fingers stretching towards Emily. Adrenaline surged as he lunged forward. No. But as he reached for her, the ground beneath him began to crack open, darkness threatening to consume him whole. In that split second, he realized this wasn't just a game, it was a reckoning. What if the true game has only just begun? Could he save her? Could he save himself? He felt the earth tremble beneath him, a heartbeat of its own, pulling him down. The crack widened, shadows swirling like tendrils of smoke, reaching up to grasp him. The creature's laughter echoed in his ears, each peel spinning in his gut with dread. You can't chase the shadows without falling into them. "Emily!" he screamed, desperation raw in his throat. He fought against the abyss, lunging for her, but she stood still, eerily calm, as the darkness pressed closer. Was that fear in her eyes, or something more sinister? "Daddy, help me!" The words floated from her lips, yet they rang hollow, devoid of the warmth he yearned for. It was as if his sweet girl was a marionette, strings pulled by a force beyond his comprehension. He felt the chill creep up his spine, the weight of the shadows heavy as they clung to his legs, pulling him lower. He couldn't let them win. He reached deep within himself, summoning the strength of a father who would never abandon his child. With a fevered shout, he hurled himself at Emily. Time stretched, a fragile thread. He could almost taste freedom. But the shadows twisted, a web of despair tightening around him. They whispered secrets of the past, of guilt and regret, of moments lost and chances thrown away. "Remember when you let her down?" they taunted. "You think you shouldered the burden alone?" But he wouldn't let them define him. "I'm not giving up," he roared, muscles straining against the dead weight of his doubts. He took a step, then another, and began to claw his way toward her. The ground crackled ominously beneath him as he fought through the thick mire of darkness. With a final, desperate push, he surged forward and closed the distance. He reached for Emily, his fingers brushing against hers. Her warmth wrapped around him like a lifeline. But the anticipation of freedom twisted into horror as the shadows convulsed. She turned to him, and the blink of an eye changed everything. It was as if a flicker had stolen her essence, leaving behind a reflection and echo of the daughter he remembered. "Daddy, save me," she whispered, her voice fragile like glass. "No," he cried out, pulling her into an embrace, determined to keep her safe. But with every second, he felt the darkness seep into his bones, wrapping around them both, leaving behind a chilling numbness that filled him with despair. "Your time is running out," the creature hissed. "The game is afoot, and you can lose more than just your daughter." The shadows around them coiled closer, rising like a tide, extinguishing the last flickers of hope. An idea sparked in his mind, fueled by the love that flooded his veins. He couldn't let it in like this. "Emily, listen," he said urgently, forcing his eyes to meet hers. "You have to find the light. Find it, and we'll escape." There was a flicker of recognition in her gaze, a glimmer of determination. She understood. The connection between them pulsed as the darkness erupted into chaos, drawn away by the light now burning within her. But just as quickly, the ground shook violently, fracturing completely. A gaping abyss opened up, dragging everything into its chilling maw. He gripped her hand tighter, determined not to lose her. "Not now, not ever. Hold on to me," he shouted, panic again lacing his voice as the shadows roared in anger. He felt her fingers slipping, the force between them waning. The last breath of hope flickered like a candle in a storm. He had to make a choice, a desperate gamble that could change everything. Would he let go to save them both, or hold on and risk losing her forever? In that instant, the game became a nightmare, and the real horror was yet to come. He could feel the grip of darkness tighten, squeezing the breath from his lungs. Time slowed like syrup as panic clawed at him. His heart raced, every tick of the clock a reminder of his impending failure. He pulled harder, pouring every fiber of his being into that tiny connection, even as the shadows writhed, their cold fingers coiling tighter around Emily's wrist. "Emily!" I won't let go. I promise. He could feel the heat of her skin against his, but it flickered like a dying flame. Daddy, the tiny, breathless plea cracked his resolve like a fragile eggshell. Fight. You have to fight, he shouted, desperation fueling his words. The shadows howled in furious retaliation, their wails a cacophony of anguish, drowning out his pleas. With a rapid surge, he yanked her toward him, igniting a moment of hope. But just as quickly, the ground convulsed beneath them. The cracked earth yawned wider, spewing forth tendrils of smoke that wrapped around their legs, pulling them downward. No, not now. He felt himself slipping, his grip faltering. It was as if the abyss was alive, yearning for the taste of despair and swallowed souls. Suddenly, Emily's eyes blazed with flickering light. The shadows recoiled, screeching. The sudden brightness was like a key unlocking a door to hope. Daddy, I can see it, she called, pointing. The light. Before he could respond, the darkness swirled around them, the cryptic creature sneering from the periphery, eyes glowing like coals. You think you can escape? There is no light here, only darkness. I won't let my love be drowned in your lies. He roared, instinctively bolting toward the direction she indicated. The grasp of the shadows fought him, their whispers slithering around his ears. What do you know of love? They crooned. You threw her away once before. You turned your back on her when it mattered most. Shut up. He shouted at the abyss, passion piercing through his fears. With newfound determination, he lunged again, pulling Emily toward that glimmer of hope, heart racing faster than his thoughts could catch. The shadows shrieked in fury, pushing back with a ferocity that rattled the very soul of the earth. The ground trembled, bricks of reality crumbling all around him. He stumbled, raw terror and adrenaline propelling him forward. Daddy, please. Emily's small voice broke through the din. He felt a weight rising in his throat, loyalty tangled with anguish. Was the light real, or just another trap, waiting to devour them both? A flicker of sunlight danced just beyond his reach, illuminating a small bridge, old and decrepit, arching through a chasm. This way. Hurry, Emily shouted, urged forth by that ethereal glow. But the darkness wouldn't relent. It surged like a tidal wave, howling in anger, fighting against their desperate dash for what could be freedom. He could hear it, feel it breathing down his neck, aware of their every move. With each step, he could sense the danger heightening, a dissonance that pulled at his gut. Could he trust what he saw? Or had despair painted a mirage of safety? The shadows hissed, slipping closer, each word a taunt. Does she deserve you? They whispered. You left her once. Wouldn't it be just to leave her again? Silence. He growled, eyes locked on the bridge. He surged ahead, pulling Emily along, praying, hoping to reach that flickering refuge. With one final push, they stumbled onto the bridge's edge. It creaked ominously, boards splintering under their weight. The abyss roared below, an angry beast hungry for their failure. Daddy, don't let go, Emily cried, and he turned to her, seeing that sparkle of belief in her eyes. Just then, the shadows lunged. A ripple of darkness surged through the boards, snapping like twigs, and in that terrifying moment, he felt the ground beneath him begin to break apart. Everything around them began to collapse with splintering, darkness swirling. He reached out, fingers brushing against the light, but it flickered like a dying star. Would they make it to freedom, or plunge into the depths of despair? As the bridge groaned under the combined weight of fear and hope, one question loomed larger than the rest. What could they lose to gain their salvation? As the last remnants of the bridge trembled, he braced himself for the fall, determination coursing through his veins as he held Emily close. The final plunge began, and he clung to the thought that love, if potent enough, might be their only buoy in an ocean of darkness. The abyss swallowed them whole, dragging them into an unending spiral of darkness. For a heartbeat that stretched into eternity, they fell, and then silence. He gasped, lungs burning, the breath frozen in his throat. The world around them felt different, muffled and dark, like being submerged underwater. He clutched Emily tight, desperate to feel her heartbeat against his chest, reassuring him in a silence that felt too heavy. Daddy? Her voice trembled, barely a whisper against the enveloping dark. Where are we? I don't know, honey, he managed, forcing calmness into his voice. But deep inside, panic churned. The shadows had taken them. It was just him, Emily, and an overwhelming void. Just as despair threatened to crush him, a pinprick of light flickered nearby. He squinted against the darkness, pulling back slightly as the light pulsed again, blossoming in a sickly hue. Overhead, strands of shadow curled and twisted like gnarled hands trying to snuff it out. "Look!" Emily shouted, pointing with wide eyes filled with fear and wonder. Their way, heart racing, he took a cautious step toward the light. Each move felt like a risk. Would the darkness consume them again? Would this light lead somewhere dangerous? He wasn't sure, but the yearning for hope drove him forward. As they approached, the light expanded, revealing a twisted landscape that looked both familiar and strange, a playground, but warped. The swings swayed, creaking ominously, and the slides curled like coiled serpents. The laughter of children echoed, but it was hollow, distorted, more of a whispering wind than real joy. "Daddy, it's so pretty," Emily breathed, entranced. She took a step closer, but he grabbed her hand firmly. "No, Emily. Stay by me. This isn't right." Just as he spoke, the laughter morphed into screams, echoing throughout the trees that loomed like ominous shadows. Colors drained from the playground, replaced by muted tones of despair, and the air thickened with an overwhelming sense of dread. "Welcome," a raspy voice slithered from the shadows, chilling his bones. The source emerged, an inky figure contorting itself into a semblance of a child, playful but wrong, distorted like a funhouse mirror reflection. "We've been waiting for you. Get back," he shouted, fear igniting his protective instincts. He yanked Emily closer and took a defensive step back. The shadows surrounding them flickered as the corporeal version of the creature sighed, its presence shifting like a nightmare, trying to solidify into reality. "Why do you cling to her?" It mocked, its lipless grin stretching in grotesque delight. "She's just a toy, nothing more than a fading memory in this place." "Shut your mouth," he yelled, his voice ringing in defiance. "You don't know anything about love." The creature's laughter echoed, twisting up into a cacophony that rattled through the playground. "Love? Perhaps that love is what brought her here. Perhaps it is your love that will doom you both." The shadows surged forward, clawing at him, reaching for Emily. His heart thundered, veins pumping with adrenaline. He had to protect her. He pushed forward, toward the light, yet the more he resisted, the more the darkness fought back, the cold tendrils strangling his resolve. "Daddy," Emily's voice cracked with fear. "Hold on to me." He fought the shadows, pulling her toward the light. As they moved, that taunting laughter rang out, wrapping around them like chains. The creature shifted closer, eyes glowing like embers in the night. "Once you cross into the light, there's no turning back," it warned, a smirk creeping across its grotesque face. "Trust me, Emily," he gasped. They were almost there, just a few desperate steps away. The shadows clawed at his heels, hungry for the bond they shared. With a final surge of strength, they broke free, the light enveloping them like a warm embrace. But just as they reached the border, a fierce grip snatched at his ankle, pulling him down. A glance back revealed the creature just inches away, its distorted mouth widening, as if ready to devour them whole. What awaited them on the other side? Freedom or another trap? As the light pulled him and Emily forward, one thought blazed in his mind. Would love be their salvation or their ultimate curse? The light engulfed them, and for a fleeting moment, warmth bathed his skin, wrapping around him like a tender embrace. It felt like everything might be okay. But the reassuring glow quickly turned harsh, the light revealing the twisted playground metamorphosing into a nightmarish carnival. The vibrant colors became unnaturally bright, almost blinding. Sickly shades of green, yellow, and purple bled into one another, producing a disorienting haze. In front of them stood a looming Ferris wheel, towering into the night sky, but its seats were empty and rusted. Each creak echoed like a hollow groan, warning them of the darkness lurking just beneath the cheerful facade. He tightened his grip on Emily, looking around frantically, sensing that this new place held far more danger than the playground they had just escaped. "It's so weird here," Emily whispered, her wide eyes searching the eerie surroundings. He could see the tremor in her hands, and it twisted something deep inside him. "Stay close, Em. Don't wander off," he warned, his heart racing. The laughter from the twisted carnival rides echoed louder now, morphing into unsettling giggles that snaked through the air like a sinister melody. They were being watched. Suddenly, out of the shadows appeared figures clad in patchwork costumes, their faces painted like warped clowns. He instinctively stepped in front of Emily, his instincts screaming at him to protect her. What do they want? He thought, panic creeping in as they moved closer, their eyes glinting with manic energy. Welcome, welcome. One clown jeered, its voice high-pitched and cheerful, yet dripping with malice. You've come to play with us. No, we're not playing, he shouted, feeling an icy grip of fear tightening around him. Ignoring him, the clowns danced, their movements jerky and unnatural, as if they were marionettes on strings pulled by unseen hands. The laughter twisted into screams, the blend of joy and terror echoing in the air. He wanted to run but felt rooted to the spot, paralyzed under their gaze, dread creeping into his veins like poison. Let us see how well you play. The lead clown snapped its fingers, and the ground trembled. Suddenly, chains shot up from the cracks in the pavement, emerging like snakes and coiling around his ankles. Emily, he shouted as they tightened, dragging him down. Daddy, she screamed, panic rippling through her voice. He thrashed against them, the metal squeezing tighter, but he couldn't let go. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the creature from before, lurking back in the shadows. It seemed to delight in the chaos, grinning wider, as if relishing each moment of his despair. Its laughter merged with the clowns, creating an unbearable symphony of terror. These games will show us just how much you care. The lead clown cackled, bending closer. Its breath reeked of decay and malice. Daddy, please, Emily cried, reaching out for him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Hold on, he managed, channeling every ounce of strength into freeing himself. The chains rattled against his skin, leaving marks of coldness that seeped into his bones. As he struggled, the clowns began to dance faster, their laughter intensifying, morphing into a horrific song that cut through the air. Suddenly, he realized it wasn't just a game for them, it was a test, a cruel observation of their bond. Why do you keep fighting? The creature called across the void. Can't you see? The final act has yet to begin. He felt his resolve breaking, anger flaring with desperation. You're wrong. I'll never let you take her. With a primal scream, he fought against the chains, each tug sending shards of pain through his body, but igniting his will. And then, just as hope began to dim, the light around them flickered violently, illuminating the entire carnival in blinding brilliance. The clowns shrieked, recoiling, and in that instant, the chains slackened. How do you like your carnival games? The creature hissed as the air thickened with malice, shadows swirling frenetic. He seized the moment. Grabbing Emily's hand, they pushed forward, racing towards the nearest ride. Would it be their escape, or another trap? With every step, the ground trembled beneath them, and a new dread festered in his gut. What awaited them at the end of this twisted path? Pushing past clown after clown, he screamed into the chaos. We have to go now. The carnival spun wildly around them. Could they find a way out before whatever hunted them caught up? With the laughter transforming into a roiling storm, uncertainty and dread spun into a dark vortex, swallowing any light that remained. What choice would they have to make to survive? The chaos blurred around them as they darted into the maze of rides and laughter, dark laughter that twisted into something sharp. He didn't know what was real anymore, just the steady warmth of Emily's hand clasped tightly in his. They raced past a carousel, its horses spinning manically, eyes rolling like wild creatures, each flash of paint a reminder of innocence corrupted. Keep running, he shouted, pulling Emily closer, heart hammering in his chest. The energy of the carnival pulsed around them, an electric hum that sent shivers down his spine. He could feel the shadows trailing, whispering promises of despair and doom, taunting him with every step. Ahead, he spotted a giant tunnel of love, a gaudy entrance adorned with unearthly smiles that did anything but evoke joy. That way, he yelled, his instincts pushing him forward. The creatures of the carnival shrieked in protest as they veered toward the tunnel, the light inside seeming to beckon like a siren's call. Yet, as they stepped into the darkness, the tunnel transformed. The scenes around them shifted, revealing memories trapped within its walls like shards of glass reflecting his worst fears. He saw moments of his life roll by, the birthday parties he had almost missed, the broken promises spewed from other years echoing in the space. The laughter around him twisted into muffled cries as he raced through, panic chasing him down the corridor. "Daddy, where are we going?" Emily's voice trembled. "Out. We're getting out," he insisted, gripping her hand tighter. Each flash of memories stung, yet the weight of that darkness unfolded deeper within him. He couldn't let it consume them. As they moved through, the sounds shifted again, a deep laughter mingled with cries, and from the shadows, hands clawed at them, leaving cold trails on his skin. "Emily, hold on," he shouted, pushing against the wave of despair. But then something unexpected happened. Emily stopped. He turned, dread pooling in his gut. "No, we have to keep moving." But her gaze was fixed, wide-eyed and frozen, staring at an image, a projection of their shared memories, now distorted. She stepped closer, entranced as a twisted version of her childhood appeared. The darkness around began to whisper, "Remember the fun you had cherished, the times lost." He felt at her hesitation, his heart sank. "No," he gasped, pulling her back. "Don't listen to them." The shadows coiled tighter, their whispers curling around her thoughts, tugging at the fabric of her innocence. "There's nothing wrong with remembering," Emily said softly, eyes glimmering with confusion. "No." He fought against the urge to scream, struggling against the growing pressure in the tunnel. "This isn't real. We have to escape." The laughter echoed from the dark, a sickening sound that flooded his mind. Please." With a fierce determination, he surged forward, breaking through. He could feel the shadows grasping at his heels, desperate to snatch them back. He had to make her understand. "Fight it. You are stronger than this." Something flickered inside her. "Daddy, I make a choice. We are not doing this together. Remember who you are. Remember us." The darkness writhed, sensing his burgeoning resolve. With a cry, he hurled himself toward the exit of the tunnel, clutching Emily's hand like a lifeline. The shadows screamed, clawing at their ankles as they raced, hearts pounding synchronously. They burst from the tunnel's mouth and tumbled into an expansive wasteland littered with remnants of darker times, forgotten toys, cracked pavement, shadows swirling like a dust storm, cackling in joy at their misfortune. But illuminated against the backdrop of darkness was an enormous door, an old, weathered entryway engraved with intricate designs that shimmered with a hint of light. Do you see that?" he exclaimed, hope igniting within him. "Yeah, but what if it's a trap? We have no other choice," he urged, fear battling against hope. "We trust each other. It's time to take a leap." They approached the door, and on the brink of despair, he rushed forward, reaching for the handle with a shaky hand. The shadows screeched, voices cloaked in rage and malice, trying desperately to reach them. "Do not leave," they hissed. "You belong to us." "Not today." He yanked the door open, light pouring in like a cascade, drowning out sorrow, flooding with strength. A light unlike anything he'd ever seen cut through the darkness, piercing the gloom. He felt it warm him, surrounding them in a cocoon of safety. "Daddy," Emily squeaked, pulled inside by his grip as they stepped through together. The darkness faltered, recoiling from the emerging brightness, its whispers turning into howlings of defeat. As they crossed through to the other side, the light enveloped them, a new world unfurling, filled with lush greenery and bright skies. The shadows clawed at the edges but remained tethered to the darkness behind, unable to follow. A vibrant park stood before them, children laughing, playing, innocence restored. He could breathe again, feel hope surging as a new adventure lay ahead. "Is this real?" Emily whispered, eyes wide with wonder. "Yeah, honey. This time, we're making the most of it." He pulled her close, their embrace holding strength against the remnants of the nightmarish chase. The horrors behind them faded, trapped where they belonged. Together, they stepped forward into the future, free from darkness, finally ready to embrace a new beginning. But as they moved further into the light, a shadow flickered at the edge of their vision, a reminder that darkness always lingered. He felt a pit forming in his stomach, the knowing dread of the shadows lurking. Who knew if they would return to that terrifying game again? He had to protect his daughter and safeguard this fragile happiness. A new reality beckoned, still fragile, yet brighter than the void they had fled. Let us go, Em. A new path lies ahead. He led her onward, love guiding them. And even as they turned away from the past, he wouldn't forget. Darkness always wears a smile and waits for an invitation. Don't let it win. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us going. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans like you are what make this community grow.